Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kasmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. On Facebook, we're streaming live on 3FM 927. Coming up in the next 1.5 hours. Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana (CLOGSAG) suspends planned nationwide strike following President Mahama's decision to withdraw appointment of Samuel Boche as Director of the Birth and Death Registry. Well, whilst one strike gets called off, another in the offing. Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association issues notice of a nationwide strike if government proceeds with its decision to sack recruit into the public service.
If they go ahead and suspend, we will have no choice but to stand in solidarity with our colleagues.
Details of these coming up. Meanwhile, the Health Minister, Kwabena Mintah Kando, has clarified that the directive is not targeted only at persons whose recruitment did not follow the process.
It is in the interest of anybody who may be recruited beyond that point for its recruitment to be suspended. Because if we recruit you beyond that point, we cannot pay you.
Also tonight, NPP Ashanti caucus in Parliament demanding a change in venue for the rerun of Council of State elections. We'll tell you why. We'll bring you all these details in the next few minutes, but Safwa Abuahene is here with a summary of the news. Safwa, what do you have?
Segment. My name is Safa Bwahine. Like Beatrice rightly said, let's settle for the details now. And to our first story, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has threatened a nationwide strike if the government proceeds with its decision to revoke appointments of over 5,000 nurses and midwives. The association's president, Perpetual Ufuriamponsa, Perpetual Ufuriampofo, described the move as unfair and warned of its negative impact on healthcare delivery. Away from that, the Ministry of Education will begin reviewing challenges in the education sector next week, focusing on financing infrastructure, teacher welfare, and parental involvement. Chairman of the Education Planning and Review Committee, Professor George Odro, highlighted the need for sustainable education reforms. Also, the Civil and Local Government Staff Association has suspended its strike following President Mahama's withdrawal of Samuel Boche's appointment as Director of the Birth and Death Registry. The association had opposed his appointment, citing political exposure. And to our last story now, the NPP Ashanti caucus in Parliament is demanding a change of venue for the rerun of the Council of State elections in the region due to previous violence. MP Kweku Aprichum Sapon suggested the Central Police Station as an alternative and warned against alleged attempts to alter the electoral roll. And this brings us to the end of our news summary segment. And over to you, Beatrice.
Thank you very much, Safwa Bwahine. Now let's start with this. And the Civil and Local Government Staff Association has suspended its nationwide strike. This follows the decision by President Mahama to withdraw the appointment of Samuel Boche as the Director of the Birth and Death Registry. The association declared an indefinite strike yesterday after it alleged that Mr. Boche was politically exposed and could not be in the civil service. Isaac Bampoado is the Executive Secretary of CLOGSAG, and he spoke to our Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku earlier in Accra.
Well, I think after our statement, we've had various discussions with the presidency. They assured us that the appointment was going to be withdrawn. So we appreciate the president for this his 24-hour response to our demand. I want to assure him that we will collaborate with him in resetting the civil service.
When you say resetting the civil service, what do you mean?
what I meant is that you're all aware that we will have a lot of apparatus and robots who have found themselves into the service. And for the civil service, we believe in the principle of neutrality. If you have any political coloring, then the civil service is not for you. So we want to let all of them know, those who have entered the civil service through politics, they have to get themselves out before we get them out. We're going to embark on a special exercise to ensure all those who came through the back door, through politics into the service, we are going to get them out.
Mr. Bampour Adu also commended the president for the swift action taken.
Yeah, we're looking out for them. We know them. We are compiling the list. And once you came in through politics, advise yourself, get out.
I think this time you have to commend the president for this action.
That's what I'm saying, that we appreciate His Excellency for this swift 24-hour revocation of the appointment of Mr. Beatrice. And we're also going to collaborate with him to reset the civil service.
Is it not the case that you tied the hands of the president to put a lot of pressure on him?
We didn't tie the hands of the president. This is something that we've been talking about for years. And we are happy that the president appreciates our concern and has taken this swift action.
And this is something that Clockside is going to carry through and through.
True. We'll make sure that the civil service is neutral.
But my final question, Doc, this issue keeps on coming back. I also believe that from 2017, when it comes to some of these, we didn't hear much from Clockside, even though you were talking about apparatus, you were talking about personal assistant. But this time around, it appears Clockside wants to be fair. Is it the case that there's a change in government?
It's not because there's a change of government. We've been talking about these things, but we sometimes blame ourselves because we spoke about Minister of Finance, about the fact that apparatus and robots have invaded the place. And nobody listened to us. But look at where we find the economy of Ghana now. It's because of these people that were employed as Minister of Finance, who didn't know anything about public finance. And they've messed the system up. So this time around, we're going to do more. We're going to ensure that if we have any, we realize that you are politically colored and you come into the system, we're going to get you out before you create any mess.
And you heard right there Isaac Bampour Adu, he's the Executive Secretary of Clocksack, speaking earlier in that interview with our Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku, who joins us live now on the line. Daniel, if you can hear me, we also understand that Clocksack has further names to expose. Is that right?
Beatrice, come again. I didn't hear you.
Yes, I was saying that Clocksack seem to have given the indication that aside from Mr. Beatrice, that the president has rescinded his decision on, they've got some more names of politically exposed individuals in the civil service as well. Is that right?
Yes, Beatrice. When you listen to the leadership of Clocksack, that is the current commitment that they have shown, that they have been able to identify about 500 of the people who are politically exposed and who have been posted to various sectors of the ministries and agencies. For instance, when we go to the local government agencies, we find quite a number of them over there. When we go to the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Energy, and also the Ministry of Transport as well, and other government agencies and ministries where all these people have been positioned. And they have compiled their list and they are waiting for the president to arrive. Then hopefully there will be subsequent engagement with the president for all those people to be removed from the civil service. That is the directive of the leadership of Clocksack currently now. And very soon they will be tabling the list to the presidency.
Daniel, I want you to hold on. Let's hear it from the horse's own mouth.
So far, about 500.
500 people?
Yes.
Who are political appointees?
Yes. Who have found themselves in the service through the back door.
Which areas are these people located?
Ministry of Finance, like they are topping the list. We have energy, we have trade, we have transport. So these are, so far, we have the local government service. We have a lot at the local government service. In the assemblies, we're going to patch the system.
So what happens to your initial decision? Have you withdrawn your intent?
Yeah, so currently, based upon discussions we had and the results we've seen so far, it's on hold. We're going to place it on for our National Executive Council for the whole action to be drawn.
So when are we expecting that meeting?
Oh, well, we are communicating with our council members. So for now, everything's on hold. We don't have a problem.
So
there's not going to be a strike. We are happy with what has been done. But officially, council will come out.
So officially, can we say that the intended strike has been suspended?
For now, it's suspended. Council will withdraw it after we've laid all the facts before it. Thank you.
And that conversation with Executive Secretary of CLOCSAC, Isaac Bampoado, in that conversation with Daniel Opoku. Daniel, what more can you tell us as regards what we should expect in the coming days beyond what we just heard?
So, Beatrice, this time I realized that the leadership of CLOCSAC as a body showing some kind of a strong force, because previously they said they have allowed the politicians to infiltrate the various agencies, which has gone a long way to compromise the credibility and also the integrity, the permanence and neutrality of the civil service. And this time around, they are not going to leave any stone unturned. They are ready to remove all those who are within the civil service and who are also politically exposed. In this case, all those who have openly campaigned for politicians on a political platform, they are going to get rid of them from the civil service. So we'll see interesting times ahead when the president comes from his various international travels and he engages the leadership of CLOCSAC.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Daniel Opoku, for bringing us that update, and we'll be bringing you an analysis of this very shortly. But let's stay in the labor area, because the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has issued a notice of a nationwide strike if the government proceeds with a decision to sack recruit into the public service. The leadership of the association says that the directive will affect over 5,000 nurses and midwives in the public service and could have a negative impact on healthcare delivery. Remember that the government, through the Chief of Staff, issued a statement announcing the revocation of all appointments and recruitment made into the public sector after the December 7 general elections. Now, this has sparked agitations among affected employees, including the 2020 and 2021 batches of nurses and midwives recruited by the previous administration. Well, the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, Perpetual Foriampofo, has described the decision as unfair.
We are very worried and we are disturbed by that communication. And what we are asking for is that government should relook at the directive. In our view, it shouldn't affect nurses and midwives. And the reason is that we already have our colleagues on the field experiencing burnout because there are units and departments that are not meeting the ideal nurse to patient ratios. And we are also faced with immigration of our colleagues to high income earning countries. And therefore, there is a huge workload on those that are at post and working. If we've been able to recruit nurses and midwives to augment the care that is being given or the delivery of health services, why would we want to now suspend them to go and sit at home for investigations to be conducted? In our view, they should be at post. Investigations should be conducted. At the end of the day, the outcome of the investigation should inform whatever actions we want to take, but not the reverse of which is going to see to it that they are suspended for investigations to go on. We think that it's unfair and that should not happen. And therefore, we are calling on the government, on our mother ministry, which is the Ministry of Health, and on the largest agency within the health service, which is the Ghana Health Service, to please rescind their decisions in relation to our nurses and midwives, because we need them there. The services they are providing is essential, and this is not the time for us to be suspending people. They should stay at post and work.
Well, she says any dismissal of these health workers would lead to a nationwide strike.
We will not hesitate to embark on series of actions, industrial actions, that we know will definitely affect the work that we are doing. And therefore, we are humbly requesting all those that have the power to do the needful, that they should rescind their decision.
Well, it seems the health minister, Kwabena Minta Kando, already heard them, and he's clarified that the directive from the chief of staff regarding public service recruitment does not target officially recruited personnel who have followed the correct procedure.
There is this directive from the chief of staff, from the office of the president, that all recruitment after 7th December must be suspended. Flowing from that, the Director General has issued some correspondence within our circles. In fact, it was not meant for public consumption. It was an internal, correspondence. But fortunately or unfortunately, it's out there, and there's that kind of apprehension amongst our health professionals. I need to clarify. Number one, the Ministry of Finance issued clearance for health professionals to be recruited, for which the expiry date was 31st December 2024. So even it is in the interest of anybody who may be recruited beyond that point for its recruitment to be suspended. Because if we recruit you beyond that point, we cannot pay you. Beyond 31st December 2024. So we are not in any way saying that the recruitment that were done within the period, the recruitment that the 31st December 2024 clearance covers are not affected. And so let's get it clear. Our information is that even as we speak, some people are even attempting to get people recruited into this, which is illegal. We have not opened any portal.
And you heard the Health Minister, Kwabena Minta Kando. Let's speak to Labour consultant Austin Game. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello?
Mr. Game, if you can hear us, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Your line is not so clear. We'll be grateful if you could kindly reposition yourself so we're able to hear you better. Hello, Mr. Game. Let's correct the line to Austin Game and get back to that conversation. And it's still here on Hot Traditional 3FM 92.7, some 19 minutes past the hour of 5. Let's see whether we can hear Austin Game clearly. Good evening to you, sir. Hopefully the line is better this time around.
Yes, descending the Bury Hill, so obviously that's what it will be.
Thank you so much for joining us. And yesterday we spoke on a different issue from the NLC where you talked about negotiations just to ensure that things went on. Well, today we're talking about the president withdrawing a man whose appointment caused rage. And that's the director for the Birth and Death Registry. From where you sit, was this the best way to go about this?
Yeah, so far, to the best of my knowledge, having keenly followed whatever is going on, the CLOSAG leadership were talking about that specific person whose that particular ministry or department because of the peculiar nature of the job they do. We were under the impression that the technical nature of the job they do, they have people internally raised, and they become the directors. So if they are bringing in someone from outside, perhaps it may serve as a blockade on the progress of their development there. Now I'm being told that they are expanding their horizon as if they are assuming the role of an employer seeking to employ for the employer. I don't think, and I think they are fully aware that under the labor law, Section 8 of the Labor Act, the only authorized body to employ are people who are designated as employers, and not unions or the workers that work there. You can make a proposal and request if they can employ somebody that you wish they should employ, for which the person will have to go through the normal process. But if a government is in power, that government reserves the right to employ people to enable them prosecute their agenda. The public service and civil service machinery will continue to be employed through the traditional system by going through the Public Services Commission. And we should be mindful of that and demarcate clearly what you can ask for and what you cannot ask for.
Do I hear you say that Clocksack is perhaps overstepping its boundaries?
I think they are overstepping. If they are talking about, and I have persistently stated that the best and deaf person they are referring to, if that is the case, it is only appropriate that the president, though not in jurisdiction, is saying that the person will be reassigned. That is very fair. But to go a step further, why didn't we ask for those who were in the national identification place and other people, many the other people, to be withdrawn? And it is now that they are doing that. They should not assume that the gentility on the part of the present president should be taken for weakness. It's not fair.
It's not fair. Again, what I hear you say is it seems Clocksack is being selective because it didn't do the same under the previous government, but with a new government, it wants to fish out politically exposed individuals.
Well, I don't even understand the meaning of that. Everybody knew how Professor Atefa is an old horse in the MPP, and yet he was in charge of the most important primary and secondary and tertiary documents in this country, being the Ghana card. Nobody knows those who have access to those kind of software in this country today for many reasons. But we are all, thinking and believing that he did his work and is gone. But today is maybe President John Mahama, so he should be intimidated and pressurized not to engage people to prosecute his agenda. He should go and pick his enemies to come and work for him. That may not be fair.
But again, what about the points they make? Because it is clear in our laws that if you want to work within the civil service, you must not be politically exposed. Their concern is that these individuals, even the 500 that they intend to bring out in terms of names, are those who are seen to be partisan.
Which of them is not partisan? We all lived in Ghana here. We all know that the people in the civil and the public service, many of them belong here or there. They are either NDC or MPP. We know most of them. They are our friends. I've worked with them before. So what is the matter? We should not make it look as if when some other party is in power, then they should be taken for, they should take their gentility to be weakness. It's not fair.
At which point can the president refuse their agitations? Because now they are pegging it to agitations that if you don't do this, I'm going to do this, which is why yesterday when they threatened the indefinite strike, less than 24 hours or just within 24 hours.
In place. We have systems, but we have bodies in place that they can go to, that the employer too can go to. Look, it's very clear in black and white. If I, for instance, even though I have empathy and sympathy for NDC, I worked for MPP when they were in office as a consultant. I was working for a number of companies that belong to them as consultant. And I've engaged many of them in diverse ways because of my impartiality. You can be in the office. If you are not going to be impartial, then you'll be exposed. Like many of them have cried themselves that some people were politicizing the system at that time. Why didn't they do what they are doing now? I think I was going along with them as far as the deaf and deaf thing. Technically, I think that it was only fair that they listen to them. If they want to expand their boundaries, it's not going to be fair.
It's not going.
You should not make governance difficult for anybody. None of them can easily occupy that space.
Let me ask you your thoughts about the Midwives and Nurses Association as well, or the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. I'm sure you're aware that the government intends to, as it were, sanitize the system. And one of the ways is to clear people who perhaps were recruited into the public service without due process or going through the right way. And the government has made it clear that they would deal with those numbers. But we've had the association resisting this and saying that if it goes, as in the government goes ahead to do this, members would embark on a strike.
Well, I don't think it's something they meant the way you are saying it. They do know very well that, including they themselves, there was warrant financial clearance before they were engaged. I would support anybody who have been employed into the public service, including the essential services being the nurses and midwives, who have received clearance from the Ministry of Finance and have been duly employed, going through the process of probation. When they complete and they are found to be suitable for the work, why not? They will be retained. But if you have not been cleared and you are employed, how will you even be paid in the first place? Nobody is to be found in the premises of any employer who there is no guarantee that the person is known to the system, and you are in the premises of that employer. It means you are unlawfully in the premises of the employer. If there is no such a thing, then there is nothing to worry about. Those who have not received clearance, and they can make a case for them, not forcibly pressurizing the employer. I will even join them to make a case for the nurses. I want to repeat. I will join them to make a case for the nurses, for the midwives who have been lawfully employed and are serving their probationary period. If the employer confirms that the role they are playing it appropriately, nobody will take them out of the system.
Thank you so much, Mr. Game, for speaking to us.
You're welcome.
Austin Game is a labor consultant. Thank you for sharing those thoughts with us. Let's get a quick word from the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, Perpetual Oforiampofo. We had her some minutes ago. Good evening to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Beatrice.
You gave a threat earlier that if the government went ahead and cleared those individuals who were employed earlier, you would not hesitate to embark on a strike. Well, we've had the Health Minister, Kwabena Minta Akando, coming back to clarify his position that really it has to do with those who went through due process. Do you still stand by that even if individuals were employed without the due process and they are sacked, you're still going to go ahead with your strike?
Well, what we are saying is that the Chief of Staff gave a directive that has been picked up by the Ghana Health Service as the largest employing agency where majority of nurses are employed, to also give a directive to its divisional directors and regional health directors that those who were recruited and are not on the payroll as of January 2025, they should be suspended. That is where our problem is. Because when we had a meeting with the Honorable Minister, he explained certain things to us. But nothing about suspension came in here. And therefore, if you have to do investigations and considering the fact that nurses are providing essential services everywhere, and the fact that in the face of immigration, where some of our colleagues have already migrated, and we are having challenges with nurse-patient ratios and the numbers that are required to take care of our patients, and the few that have been recruited, you want to also suspend some because you want to conduct investigation, or you have the perceived assumption that there are people who were recruited having not followed due process. Well, what we know is that it is very unlikely that the Ministry of Health itself and its agencies, meaning the Ghana Health Service, the teaching hospitals in charge, would have employed outside the financial clearance that was provided by the Ministry of Finance for the 2020 cohort of nurses that were employed in December. And in fact, if you are recruited, you don't immediately find yourself on the payroll. It takes some time. In some cases, 2 months, 3 months before the whole inputting of your data, you having to fill the form and the inputting done at controller before you find yourself on the payroll. The financial clearance is such that the one that was given to the 2020 batch, you see, some of those individuals had been covered by the 2019 financial clearance. So what the Ministry of Health provided for the 2020 cohort, in fact, we know some of that financial clearance even remained after those that were supposed to be recruited were recruited. In a meeting we had with the ministry somewhere in December, there were agitations from even the referral batch, and we had indicated to the ministry that it would be important to even seek from the Ministry of Finance the extension of the financial clearance, which is usually done. It can be done once the request goes, to extend the period so that it doesn't go to waste. You know, the other thousands of financial clearance that was not covered for the 2020 cohort will not go to waste, so that it can cover either the referral batch or a portion of the 2021 batch. So if we are saying that some people have been employed and there's no money to pay them, it doesn't sit well with us, because having done this over so many years in collaboration with the ministry and sitting down to look at some of these things and the numbers that can be employed and so on and so forth, I can't see how the ministry or and its agencies would have employed any individual outside the financial clearance that had been provided. It meant that if they recruited them, the financial clearance that had been issued by the Ministry of Finance could have covered their recruitment. So all that we are saying is that, yes, there may be need to do an in-depth investigation of the recruitment process and those that the financial clearance has covered, and in their estimation, those that may not have been covered by the financial clearance and therefore serves as a new financial burden on government. They should do that investigation and come and share the numbers with us. And so that's where we will understand. But if you want to take action on some assumptions or on some perceptions, when we also know that within the operations of the ministry and how they apply the financial clearance, nobody could have been employed when a nurse or a midwife could not have been employed if the financial clearance was not available to cover them. Then it's a problem. Asking people, directors to suspend people. And we have said that, yes, if you cannot wait to do your investigation and share the outcome with all of us, and you want to go ahead and suspend people when we know we need the essential services that they are providing for us at this moment. When burnout is affecting some nurses, you go to some wards, only 2 nurses taking care of 35 patients, 40 patients on a shift. This new recruitment is what has brought the burden down a bit. And even we need to recruit more into the public service to augment the nursing and midwifery workforce.
So what happens if...
It's important that they let them work, complete their investigation, and then we take it up from there.
What happens
Otherwise, if they suspend them, we will stand in solidarity with our colleagues.
What happens if the investigations come out and indeed it is found that there were no due processes and all of that, even including the financial stance of the government or the state? What will you say to that?
That is why we are partners in the health system. That should be discussed. You see, it depends on the numbers. The numbers will inform the action that government can take. Because if it is 100 people or 50 people, it is not going to bring any huge financial burden on government. You may say that I may be wrong because I don't know the coffers that they are working with. But recruitment of nurses, from what we know, is always in the thousands. And therefore, knowing the figures that we know was for the 2020 cohort, we don't foresee that the rest of the financial clearance that covered the rest of the other individuals who may have been taken from the other cohorts would even go beyond 5,000. So if that is where the assumption is, or that is where the problem is, what we are saying is that they should do the investigation. And when they come out with the numbers, we can sit down and look at it. But the mental torture at this time for nurses who have been recruited and they are not on the payroll and they are trying to provide services and they are going to be suspended, they don't know their fate. It doesn't help. It's not helpful for the system and the kind of work that we do as health professionals in safeguarding the care of our patients. So the Ministry of Health should come out clearly and let us know, because the position we have espoused in our press release, we are going to stand by it. The National Council of the Association is more than ready. And I know our nurses and midwives out there are more than ready to stand by us when it comes to the decision that we have to take. As much as possible, we try to provide our care devoid of race, color, religion, politics, or social status of the individual. We are just there to provide care. And if somebody has been recruited through a system that may have been fraudulent, that individual professional has no control of that system that employed him or her, and should not bear the brunt of the system that did not work. So the focus should be on strengthening the system and ensuring that these kind of actions, if indeed occurred, does not happen in the future.
Let me ask you, you said earlier in this interview that you admit that you're partners with the government. In the meantime, have you tried to have conversations, not just with the Ghana Health Service, but also with the Ministry of Health, to ensure that all of us are on the same page moving forward?
Exactly so. You know that the Chief of Staff directive came out on the 10th of February. There were a lot of concerns from our newly recruited nurses who did not understand their fate, whether it was going to affect them, because some were still in the process of ensuring that they input their IPPD data so that they can appear on the payroll. So it became a big challenge. We reached out to the ministry. The chief director did very well to reach the minister, and a meeting was organized yesterday. Yesterday, we had to be 5 national executives. We are the Ministry of Health. We had to wait for the minister up until somewhere around 5. We sat down. The minister explained things to us clearly, what his intentions are, how he wants to go about issues, and we understood him. At that meeting yesterday, there was no indication that anybody, any nurse or midwife, was going to be suspended. Therefore, Therefore, later in the evening, when we got hold of the Director General of the Ghana Health Services Directive, it took us aback. And we tried to understand what it was that needed to be done. And the explanations we were getting from one end to the other was to the effect that the conclusion of the meeting we had yesterday was the same as what the Director General has issued. But of course, it is not the same. Nobody told us yesterday that any nurse or midwife was going to be suspended. As far as we were concerned, a certain investigation had been initiated, it was ongoing, it will be completed, and the outcome of that investigation will be shared with us. Nobody told us that anybody was going to be suspended.
Ended here. Thank you very much, Pepe Cholo Ofori. The Ampofo, she is the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Some 41 minutes past the hour of 5, we go to the Ashanti region where the MPP caucus in Parliament there is demanding a change in the venue for the rerun of the Council of State elections in the region following violent disruptions during the initial poll. The Electoral Commission has scheduled the elections for Monday, February 17, after some thugs disrupted the counting of ballots, destroying them in the process last Wednesday. Well, speaking on behalf of the NPP Ashanti caucus, Asante Mampong MP Kweku Aprechum Sapon insisted that the rerun be held at the Central Police Station. Listen to exactly what he said.
The Ashanti caucus is outraged by the decision to hold the Ashanti regional representative to the Council of State election at a venue already tainted by chaos and lawlessness. We refuse to allow the democratic process in our region to be compromised any further. We have officially dispatched a letter to the Electoral Commission demanding an immediate change of the venue to the Central Police Station. The first one that took place was held at the Regional Coordinating Council, and you are all aware of the chaos, the snatching of ballot boxes, macho men getting involved, and therefore the process could not be completed successfully. A venue under the jurisdiction of a security apparatus that have already failed is unacceptable and must be replaced without delay. We will hold the current security leadership, specifically the Inspector General of Police and the Chairman of the Regional Security Council, fully accountable for any further disruptions. We have gathered intelligence also that certain assemblies are becoming heated, with the factions attempting to alter the representatives on the electoral roll. That is, now they are trying to influence or make changes to the composition of the district assemblies. Moreover, reports indicate that today, coordinating directors have been instructed to swear in new appointed assembly members to render them eligible to vote. Let us be crystal clear that any attempt to manipulate or destroy the sanctity of our electoral process will be met with unyielding resistance. We will resist every effort to subvert our democracy.
And you had the Asante Mampong MP Kweku Aprechum Sapong speaking on behalf of the MPP caucus in the Ashanti region. Dr. Samuel Efriye is a political analyst. He joins us live on the line. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, good evening, Beatrice.
Doc, we seem to have seen this violence characterizing the election of the Council of State representative for the first time in Ghana's history. I know you monitored the situation or the event, as it were. First off, what do you think contributed to what we saw?
Yeah, thank you once again, and also greetings to your listeners. You know, what I observed that day was so unfortunate and uncalled for that just this simple elections of Council of State Ashanti region, 86 people to cast their vote. Counting was going on. Then all of a sudden, we realized that when the other side or one of the contestants realized that he has gotten 47, that his side was jubilating, then these tax came in. We have about, the police, if I can count, more than 50. They just destroy electoral materials just like that. And this happened at the Regional Coordinating Council. The head or the security of Ashanti region, the regional minister. And if you can have these tasks coming to the regional minister's residence or council, then that is highly unacceptable. Then it means that we are all not secure. His own being the chairman of the regional council or the security council, his residents, you can have these tasks numbering more than 40, come in, destroy everything that the police couldn't do anything. And that is, Beatrice, unfortunate.
That's unfortunate. So what you were saddened by that. So it means that perhaps this call by the MPP caucus in the Ashanti region for this to be the new one to be done at the police office is really not the solution to it.
For me, any other place, for now, I don't know how people will be assured of their security if they go to regional coordinating council, because the fear that will be lingering around is whether these tax will be coming back. That is a fear. Anybody that was around that time will fear that. And even for me, I don't think that I will even try to go if it will be held at the regional coordinating council, because what I saw, it was quite unfortunate. Because they were just destroying things, and the police were just impotent to do anything. And that is something that Beatrice is uncalled for. Just 46 people, Council of State, just one, and you look at what happened was uncalled for. And I think that largely is the regional minister that should, because he's in charge of our security, and I think that he has to put his feet down and try to put things in the right place. But that place, I don't know. I don't know if you will be there, but I won't be there because of what I saw, because I might have that fear of not being and protected that time. Even though they've changed the regional commander, coming out the new one, I don't know what will happen next. But I think if they can get in touch with the various candidates and compromise can come into a change of venue, that will be even far better. And protection also needs to be secured. We should not allow anybody to come in except those who are coming to vote and one of few contestants. And then I think that because the premises that we had that election was where everybody can come in and just stay around. So that resulted into these kind of unfortunate incidents.
So
and it's a dent on our Ashanti region security and structure.
So if I hear you correctly, it's not really about the venue, it is about ensuring that whichever venue you choose, you have adequate security to prevent a recurrence. That's what you're saying?
Yes. Because any other venue, maybe these tax can also come around if security is compromised. So what we need is that I think that we need armed police people, we need stringent kind of entry to the parameters because there are 86 people that want to vote. So 86, they can be 100. So these people can come in and few candidates, their reps and one or two. And that will be done. Even a small place, it could be done. So there's no place that we can have this open space where people will come in and get people trooping, people holding their cards, security, national security, this member, this, that. Everybody will be entering the parameter or the premises for the election. I think we need a secured venue where it might be in a building where everything is well protected, so that people, those who are eligible, will enter, so that they will prevent, like the Accra, what they did. I think it was in a conference kind of hall, and even though there were some few skirmishes, but I think that the Ashanti, because of the open space, I think you realize that there were a lot of people around, and that is We either have a secured venue and closed one where people that, and I think security needs to be manned to avoid that. If not, Beatrice, I'm sorry that we might be expecting another kind of chaos in the Monday, that is in Monday election.
Dr. Freya, thank you so much for talking to us.
My pleasure.
And I had Dr. Samuel Freya, he's a political analyst. You're still here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Menua Fall is standing by with the latest in business. Don't go away.
Accra, Ghana, Africa, and worldwide. Join us on 3FM. What is your favorite scripture?
Well, my favorite scripture is Romans 8:28, and it says, all things work together for the good to them that love the Lord. Kwame, that is absolutely my favorite scripture.
Yes, your inspirational gospel mix, a moment to get inspired with the best of inspirational songs and interviews to get you prepared for the new week on every Sunday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. with me, your big brother, Kwame Adu.
92.7.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Mobile Money Vendors Association demands action as robbery attacks claim 15 lives of members, costing over 5 million cedis in 1 year. My name is Minu. I will bring you details of this and more. Please stay. On other details, the Mobile Money Vendors Association of Ghana is raising concerns about frequent attacks suffered by some of its members over the last year, which it says has led to the loss of about 15 lives and over 5 million cedis. This follows the killing of 27-year-old mobile money vendor Patricia Nimakon at Kofrom in the Ashanti region. Speaking to 3 Business Executive Secretary of the association, Evan Sotumfo stressed the need for government intervention to enhance the security situation of mobile money operators across the country.
For the year ending January to February, we have recorded over 50 robbery attacks, out of which over 15 deaths have been recorded so far. And then in terms of capital or money that we have equally lost, it's over 5 million Ghana cedis, including the agents. And so what we are calling on the government is that government should really, pay significant attention to the industry that is really generating a lot of revenue to government, the industry that is really supporting businesses, the industry that has really employed over 1 million Ghanaian youth.
That over there was General Secretary of Mobile Money Agents Association of Ghana, Evan Sotumfo. Now in more stories, the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana has rejected calls for the abolition of the Integrated Customs Management Systems, ICOMS, arguing instead that the platform has been instrumental in boosting customs revenue and streamlining trade processes. This comes in response to a petition submitted to the presidency demanding the scrapping of ICOMS over alleged inefficiencies. According to Executive Secretary Samson Asaki Awingobit, contrary to these claims, ICOMS has significantly improved customs revenue, more than doubling collections since its introduction.
The journey towards the fully integrated and efficient custom management system is a marathon, not a sprint. ICOMS has already brought us closer to the finishing line, and we must not abandon it midway. Let us remember that every great system evolves over time, and ICOMS is no exception. We appeal to the hearts and minds of all Ghanaians to see ICOMS as a work in progress, a system that is evolving to meet the demands of a dynamic global trade environment. Let us encourage Ghana Link to fix the problem rather than succumb to to the growing menace of discarding systems that have shown immense potential for our nation's progress.
Samson Asaki Awingobes is Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. Now, President of the Chartered Insurance Institute of Ghana, CIIG, Solomon Latte, has emphasized the critical role of insurance in risk mitigation, arguing that its benefits far outweigh its contribution to Ghana's GDP. With insurance penetration still below 2%, he's urging Ghanaians to prioritize insurance, highlighting that companies pay out millions of cedis in claims to policyholders.
Once Ghanaians know more about insurance, the true benefit of insurance will come out. For example, if you take the actual, what we call insurance penetration in Ghana, is below 2%. But that is not the actual benefit that insurance brings to the market. What insurance brings is the protection of your assets and your liabilities that runs into several billions of dollars, way above the GDP. So that is the real benefit of insurance that people don't really know about. Thankfully, we have different organizations trying to pursue the agenda of educating the public about insurance. The CIG is like the regulator of the professionals. But beyond CIG, we have Insurance Awareness Coordinators Group that is looking at insurance education in Ghana. We have Women in Insurance Network. We have Chartered Insurance Ladies Association. We have a lot of organizations that are educating people in different directions.
That was President of the Chartered Insurance Institute of Ghana, Solomon Latte there. Well, that brings us to the end of the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more stories, kindly log on to our website. It's 3news.com. I am Minu. Afo, stay tuned for sports news right after this.
On this frequency, 92.7 3 FM.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact triumph? Or will youth and energy win? Call or WhatsApp on these numbers: 0532 300 927 or 0532 200 927. Now, to join Team Comfort or Team Helen and enjoy holistic wellness coaching, specialized diet plans, and cooking tutorials, thrilling exercises, challenges, and activities, plus many exciting rewards.
Hello and welcome to the sports update on Hot Edition with me, Akusia Eji. In our first story, the life patron of Kumase Asante Kotoko Otumfo to the second has urged authorities to apprehend the person who stabbed Kotoko fan Francis Frimpong.
Zoom. You could dear grown will be called Visicandi. As one class, they say a brand tail. Yashada say one is a kind. Zoom. Intimacy she will be was here behind you. Now, be intimate for 2 minutes and some and Zoom. Zoom. A soon info. Zoom. What bringing one? It's a dear. Timra was a married man that said Pierre fast and by be interested in bear. The Betty and the permanent person so won't be yet or my umbrella. Zoom. I go football will be Konako, Jina, what is a kind one. Never pin neck yet. Tinibano Pro were weapon the young who is out and Brenia. Was it? Oh, Zoom. With it 1 year problem. I was here chin and energy. could be anchored. Say, see, stadium, say, see a bunch of welcome nipper. Joe, football, so now, no with the PA. A child, we are not reading, but we are calling him a man, Joe, be a befast to be a man, Katakata, so young call from near the Yanchunia, Cronium was at the Dientina or Koyasa. Joe, never running in it. Now, and this are in James up a bay.
That was Otumfo Osei the second, but we still stay a little longer with him as he has also advised referees to be objective while officiating matches in the Ghana Premier League.
And a referee paper no so in conto morning come no munyani anya so on a man to can baba I can say the bonnet will be over no already and ya kotoko na bibi over me be oboni ye no we as a referee so people penny you free you very so good to bozade so say house me change na me my house and house for you here then to about ben say ube or shekra no aye na be Joe and na say nya ne kwa nti ni nyina na omunka na yemhwe say the be.
More on the demise of Kumasi Asante Kotoko fan Francis Frimpong and Sports Minister Kofi Adams has, after a meeting with the leadership of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, has admonished authorities to punish the perpetrators of Francis Frimpong's death, irrespective of the individual's position.
Any ministry and will make sure whoever is found to have played a role. Nana, it doesn't matter Nipano, the status. We will see to it that punishment is given, so that ultimately, say we cry, is motivated, is encouraged to do any side thing. Like I said, the visa C and this and this and this was what happened to Omoye's identity. It's unfortunate that it has to take Yenuya Denkwine to remind us. Say what say Yenuya or say
Sports Minister Kofi Adams there. And now to the Black Queens, where their head coach Kim Lazio-Kegrin is hopeful about his new job as he sees a lot of potential in the youthful female players we have here in the country.
Now we're good enough to fight against the best teams and have a successful summer to start with. But also, like I said, from what I've seen from the younger teams, like the under 17, for example, there are so many really great players. But of course, if you are like 16, 17, 18 years old, you're maybe not ready today. But in a couple of years, they will be great, I promise you. As long as they work hard together with their coaches and teammates in the club teams, and they take the opportunity every time they have the chance to do something good for the national team here, then the future will be great, and I'm sure it will be.
To some other stories, and Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has bemoaned the impact of Kai Havertz's absence from the team.
Yeah, so we were having a great camp in Dubai, recharging, training, having some time off and connecting again with nature and a different environment, and then the injury happened in a very unexpected way, certainly. So it's a big blow, obviously, because of the injuries that we have. But fortunately, we've been through a lot this season. We have played without Guy Magalhaes, without Saliba, without Ben White all season, Tomiyasu all season, Calafiori 2 months, Merino 2 months, Martin Odegaard 2 months, Bukayo Saka 3 months, Gabriel Jesus, all of them. So that's it. That's a challenge ahead. Love it and look forward, because we are still where we are with all the things that I mentioned, on top of playing 4 times with 10 men, blah, blah, blah. So let's see what the team is made of.
used the word in there that you love it. I was going to say to you, as a coach, does that get your juices?
You heard Mikel Arteta, who is the coach for Arsenal. That's all for the Sports on Hot edition. My name is Akosia AJ. For more sports update, follow us on 3SportsGH on X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And for more news, log on to 3news.com/sports. Have a lovely day. Thank you so much, Akosia J, for bringing us the latest in sport. Of course, to Menua Fall as well, who brought us business earlier. Let's bring you some more here on Hot Edition, because security agencies in Wale Wale in the northeast region have confirmed the death of 4 persons following a violent gun attack on a commercial bus on the Wale Wale Tamale Highway. Security agencies say that the bus was transporting passengers from Wedana in the Pusiga district of the Upper East region to Kumase in the Ashanti region when it was attacked by gunmen and set ablaze near Kokwa, Luagri. We have Castro Sanyala, who is our correspondent in the Upper East region, joining us live on the line. Castro, we know that you have reliable sources within the security agencies who continue to provide you with accurate information, as it were. What more have they been telling you about this attack?
Right, Beatrice, security agencies are very tight-lipped, though I'm pushing for more and further information on this very disturbing incident. But from what I get from them is that the remaining passengers who were moving with the bus have been put together and being sent to the nearest town, which is Tamale, to ensure that they stay. We understand that the mortal remains of those who have been killed have been transported to the Wale Wale district hospital, where an autopsy is supposed to be carried out on them. I also get information that both the military and the police, and in fact that of the immigration service personnel, have been deployed heavily on that highway, and that would be the arrangement in the coming days as agencies begin to take a different look at the situation, which is what they're saying is getting out of hand and need agent address to mitigate the killing of innocent travelers on the stretch.
From the look of things, the fact that they were being transported from Upper East to Kumasi suggests that perhaps they didn't have any family around. But do you have information as regards to the families of those individuals?
Not at all, considering that the bus was en route from Wedana, which is almost on the border with Togo, means that there won't be any establishment with families so far. I understand that the rest of the people who have been rescued, majority of whom are Burkinabe nationals, are trying to reconnect with their families so that they get across whatever the issue has happened to them. And the hope of the security agencies, especially the police, that these people who have been killed would be able to be released to their families after the autopsy report, so that they are given burial. And then they begin to investigate whatever has happened to see how they can put in measures to stop and end the conflict on that road.
Unfortunate incident there, but take us to Boko, which has still had people being killed there. What's the latest in that area?
If you have to speak, we understand that Boko is very calm. The security agencies have taken positions within the town and on the Bolgatanga Pumakum Boko highway. We also understand that yesterday there was heavy gunfire leading to the death of 3 people in Gomyoko, which is a community within the Bindo district. But under the police and the military, as always, have been able to bring the situation under control and have intensified patrols within the community. We also are learning that considering the magnitude of the conflict which has been exported to the neighboring Wale and surrounding communities, the security agencies will in the coming days have a very important meeting to discuss ways, especially to stop the highway attacks where we have innocent people being killed because the attackers usually don't have the luxury of time to go through the buses to identify who they really are after, if I can say it that way, before carrying out the attack. So we look forward to that meeting, and whatever happens or whatever comes out of that, to let our listeners know.
Thank you so much, Castro Senyala, reporting live from the Upper East region. Now, the Ministry of Education will from next week begin reviewing the challenges in the education sector. The discussions will focus on education financing, the infrastructure gap, and the role of teachers on transforming education for a sustainable future. Let's listen to the chairman of the Education Planning and Review Committee, Professor George Adu, addressing a news conference earlier.
The theme, Transforming Education for a Sustainable Future, provides a broader framework within which our interrogation of issues at the forum will be achieved. Under this, and still referencing the manifesto committees, the NDC manifesto, we came out with 5 key pillars. And these 5 key pillars were arrived at looking at the current state of our educational system, the challenges associated with the system. And so we thought pillar 1 should address issues of infrastructure. Infrastructure, we're looking at physical infrastructure and then IT infrastructure. Then we also looked at quality issues. And so the second pillar around which discussions would revolve is quality education provision. In other words, educational quality provision. Here we expect that stakeholders will engage with this pillar within the context of our basic education, our secondary education, tertiary education, TVET, with issues like inclusivity cutting across.
And you heard the chairman of the Education Planning and Review Committee, Professor George Adu. Now, the Finance Minister has proposed March 11, 2025 for the presentation of the government inaugural budget statement for the 2024 fiscal year. Meanwhile, the State of the Nation address is also expected to be delivered on February 27, as communicated by the Office of the President. This was disclosed by Majority Leader Mahama Yariga in response to an inquiry from first Deputy Minority Whip Habib Idrisu on the timelines for these key addresses. Listen.
I'd like to find out from the leader of government business when the message on the state of the nation will be presented and when should we be expecting the budget.
The Minister for Finance has indicated that he would want to present the budget either on the 10th or 11th, but I told him the 10th is a Monday, and since we don't sit on Mondays, 11 March is a more appropriate date for him to present the budget. So 11 March 11 March is the date that the minister proposes to bring the budget to us for consideration. The Office of the President has also communicated that the State of the Nation address, if we are available as a House, can be presented on the 27th of February. On the 27th of February. So that is the provisional date that is the Office of the President has communicated to us regarding the presentation of the State of the Nation by His Excellency the President.
And you had the Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga. Still in Parliament, the Minority Leader has also urged the government to expedite the nomination of the remaining 4 deputy ministers, warning against last-minute delays in the vetting process. He said that the delay is causing anxiety within the Majority caucus. Let's listen to a response from the Majority Leader to that.
We have 4 more deputy ministers that are to be appointed, nominated, to add up to make it the 60. It's still delaying. We don't know what is happening. Yeah, 50 says you need to add 4 to make it 60. Mr. Speaker, we don't want a situation where we start the vetting, the 14 that we have, we start, and at the tail end, something will come up. So I want the leader of government business to ferret this to the presidency, encourage the presidency to, as a matter of urgency, nominate these additional 4 deputy ministers. We have communication and digitalization pending. We have foreign affairs deputy pending. We have health pending. We have transport pending. Mr. Speaker, and we know that there are very prominent members of this House, very senior, who have still not been considered. We will not repeat it, but there is anxiety on the front bench and the back bench of the majority. So leader of government business must bring certainty to this matter by dealing with it. Mr. Speaker,
I believe the Minority Leader is aware of Article 79 of the Constitution. Article 79 of the Constitution says the President may, in consultation with a Minister of State and with the prior approval of Parliament, appoint 1 or more deputy ministers. So the appointment of a deputy minister has to be done in consultation with the substantive minister. So the nominations for deputy ministers cannot come at the same speed that those of the substantive ministers came. So take your time. The president is consulting his ministers, and after the consultation, he will bring you the names.
And you had both Minority Leader Alexander Appenyo marking in that response from the Majority Leader Mahama Ayariga. Now, President John Mahama has advocated or has asked for a close partnership between the United Nations and regional organizations in Africa to enhance peace and security. President Mahama spoke at the ongoing Munich Security Conference in Germany.
The UN itself has carried out many reforms in terms of trying to increase efficiency in all the agencies that it has. But one place that has remained static, archaic, and moribund is the Security Council. The developing world, the third world, have been advocating constantly for a reform of the Security Council in order that it responds to the realities of today's world. Unfortunately, we're not speaking with one voice. I think that the main issue that is a stumbling block to the reform of the Security Council is the question of the veto. And so I think that, one, let's expand the council, let's add additional permanent members, and after we have expanded the council, we can discuss the veto. The veto should not be a stumbling block in adding permanent members to the Security Council. But that is one aspect of the United Nations that is in need of urgent reform. In order that it can respond to today's challenges, the United Nations should be strengthening its partnership with the regional economic communities. I was going to make a comment about peacekeeping and saying that it doesn't work in every circumstance. There are circumstances where the UN cannot restore peace because there's a violent situation taking place. I remember with ECOWAS, when we had the Liberian Civil War, it took ECOWAS to form the ECOWAS Monitoring Group, ECOMOG, to go in while fighting was taking place, secure the port area, inject ECOWAS forces in there, and protect civilians and push back the rebels and create a safe zone. It's very difficult to insert a UN force into a situation like that. And so I do think that partnerships with REX are important, and we must bring those closer. But for instance, right now, 3 of our neighbors, the Sahelian countries, are breaking away to form their own alliance. And that is because of the Islamic jihadist insurgency that is taking place. We could do a multinational joint task force, but our economies require those resources for healthcare, for education, and to provide other social services for our people. And so unless we got resources from an organization like the UN or the AU, it makes it difficult for us as a regional organization to make any intervention. And so I think that
You had there President Mahama. The management of the Accra Psychiatric Hospital has bemoaned the obsolete state of the infrastructure accommodating inmates. Stanley Nibleo gives us details.
The World Health Organization, WHO, estimates that approximately 13% of Ghanaians suffer from mental disorder. According to the WHO, as of 2022, only about 2% of the 2.3 million people living with mental health conditions received psychiatric treatment and support from health facilities. Lack of funding opportunities, stigma, and poor infrastructure in psychiatric facilities have compounded mental health issues in Ghana. The management of the Accra Psychiatric Hospital says inadequate facilities are negatively impacting their operations. They are calling on the government to work on improving the facility.
The place itself, formerly it was like a prison. And now we are trying to, some donors come and then they will come and break something and do it for you. Another one will come and break another thing. But it is not conducive for us. We are waiting for President Mahama to come and continue what the previous government started. And then we think that if he does it for us, we will be very, very grateful to him.
Psychiatric inmates undergoing rehabilitation often face feeding challenges, as government allocations are irregular and insufficient. The Mental Health Authority visited the facility on Valentine's Day to advocate against the stigmatization of inmates while urging families to properly reintegrate their rehabilitated members back into the community.
When the family is traced, especially for those who are brought into the facilities, the families are invited and educated about the person's condition and what to do to support the person.
The authority also outlined initiatives to remove individuals with mental health conditions from the streets of Accra.
Persons with mental illness who are on the streets, yes, they are also a priority to the authority. There is work being done. Obviously, we still see people on the streets. So the authority is aware of this. The authority is moving in the right direction to help curb this situation.
Staff from the authority later shared chocolate with the inmates.
Stanley Nibleo filed that report. And that's it for Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Log on to shrenews.com for more news. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Have a good evening.